Hey everybody, this is Jerry. I got a really special guest today. This is Isabel, and she's been on television in various Latin American markets, and she's also done television, like telenovelas and stuff like that. So it's going to be a really fascinating interview. I've always wondered about that world. So Isabel, welcome.
Hey, Derry, thank you so much for welcoming me. I'm so happy to be here and that we could talk a little bit. Thank you so much for the introduction. I
Hmm.
love the word telenovela. You did it quite well.
Yeah,
Uh,
hablo un poquito español, un poquito.
Muy bien. So we can like go back and
Yeah,
forth with English and Spanish.
totally, totally. If there's certain cool words in Spanish, please speak them in Spanish.
That's awesome. Sure. And I also can teach a little bit of German if you need to.
Oh, yeah, so let's start with that. So you're half German, half Ecuadorian?
Correct. So
Hmm.
my mom is German. My dad is Ecuadorian. I was born in Germany, but then when I was 2 years, we went back to Ecuador, and there's
Wow.
where I grew up. But in a German environment, German, my mom, Spanish, my dad. So I grew up with two languages in a German school. Yeah, for 12 years. And then
Wow, a
going back and
German
forth to Germany.
school in Ecuador.
Correct. There's a German school in Ecuador, so all the subjects are in German, and the Spanish, comes because of the people and the country, of course.
Hmm. And
Yay!
when did you start learning English, or was it concurrent also?
So that's funny because at the German school, since German is such a hard language, they teach you English when you're around 9, 10 years old,
Oh.
right? They introduce you to German first, and then they start with the English. But I think that there are certain words that are very similar. So
Mm.
if you speak the German, then it's easier to learn English.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm trying. I'm still trying. My accent is kind of weird. I don't know if it's European, Latin America. I have like a mixture of all of it.
Yeah, you could play off either type. So, like, I'm sure if you ever were to play a role, your accent could fit. You could, like, do an Italian or you could do, like, a Latin American. Like, you got a broad range of characters you could play.
Yeah, I think so. I've never tried it really. So when I try to speak as a German, for example, I would speak the English a little bit more like this, you
Oh.
know? And so I think I could do it. I would love to do it. Yeah.
Wow.
But
So,
then when they ask me to talk like an American, I still have to work on it.
yeah, exactly. So let's talk about sort of the performance bug, the acting bug, etc. When did you get that?
Right. So in school, I did a couple of musicals. So I was always into arts more than like academics, really. So I would sing, I would dance, I would act. And we had a great teacher, theater teacher, I would say. So he introduced me to this when I was around 14, 15 years old. So I always liked it. And then I decided to go to Mexico City to study at this big company called Televisa, which is the soap pop company, where you do all the telenovelas.
Yeah.
But you go into school they have, and you get a scholarship. It's really hard to get into there because you don't have to pay once you're in there. And so they give you all kind of classes during 3 years. It's from 8 in the morning until 8 at night, and it's mostly you don't have any time to work during the week. So there is when I really started, studying to major in acting.
I see. I think a lot of us who are outside of the Latin American market don't even know that they got special soap opera training companies. Kind of like how Korea has K-pop training companies, right? It's like it seems like a similar thing. Mexico has like a soap opera training. That is so fascinating.
It definitely is because we also see a lot of soap ops in Ecuador, right? So they come from Mexico mostly. It's like the biggest company. So what was fascinating about this is that the school is inside this huge city. It's a big city, right? Where you do all the telenovelas and you have like rooms in there and the kitchen and they do all these things inside this company. So it's like a little city. But the school, the good thing was that they would teach you to do television, right? But also theater and also movies. So you will come out as a total actor. It's not just, sometimes, oh, she just does TV. No, 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 no. We can do everything. But mostly it was like, let's get you started to start in the TV. And so Mexico is like the boom for that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's funny you mentioned how they train you to be the whole package because you see that in people who are only stage trained or musical theater trained, where their expressions are too much for the camera. So then it's like they have to tone it down, be more natural. But then now there's a whole phenomenon where people who are only trained for the screen, you can never understand them when they're talking on TV or on in movies. So like nowadays there's all these videos on YouTube explaining to people why we have to turn on the subtitles for so many movies and TV shows filmed nowadays, because nobody got that stage enunciation, that musical theater diction.
Right. It's so right what you're saying, because it's so different, right? Theater and musical, it's that right away you have to be capable of improvising because it's just once. While the TV, once you are shooting there, you can repeat it a lot of times. And especially in the soap ops in Mexico, the interesting thing is that you have like the little thing they put in your ear. And so it's not like you have to, yeah, you don't have to memorize much. Nowadays, it's different because they do a lot of series, right? But it's so fast and they change all the time the dialogues that they put something in there. And there's a person who is talking to you and you have the training to repeat your lines, what you have to say. That's the way they shorten the time. So definitely it's so different to do theater, so different to do TV, and so different to do movies because the camera is totally different. So the funny thing is sometimes, oh, you're an actress, telenovela actress. You cannot do movies or theater, but that's not true. We can do everything. We're trained for that.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned the earpiece, because I think Johnny Depp revealed many years after Pirates of the Caribbean that he sort of got his lines through, and everyone was kind of mad at him. It's like, that's not real acting. So it looks like that's always been a thing in many industries.
It is because, I think that makes them, get more time and so don't spend much money. Although it's better as an actor, I would say it's more natural if you learn it, right? Like memorize it. But the thing is that maybe they change it. And so you don't have time to memorize. So I think that's a good thing. While you're trained, you make it seem natural. So it's a training thing.
Yeah. So 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., you guys are studying all kinds of stuff. Do you guys study languages too? Or is it just different types of acting, different type of performance?
So, well, in that school, that's called the Art Center of Televisa, we would study not different languages, just Spanish. Right? Just Spanish, but we would try to do different accents. We would study a lot the character, right? So we have the opportunity to do all of that. And so we have theater classes as well as just television classes, as I was telling you. Musical, it's not such a big thing. It's more than if you know how to sing and then you go like that way. But mostly if you can dance, because we also have dance, ballet, we have a lot of those classes, the diction classes, right? And how to prepare for a character. Then you go out and you're ready to do whatever character you're good to do,
Yeah. So are the talent scouts and the companies that are doing the production, are they kind of at the school too, scouting all the time? Or is it more like you go through the school, you graduate, then you start auditioning?
No, actually, it is a matter of sometimes they take people out of the school because, it's a nonprofit school. So they see sometimes they need soap ops, like, let's say, teenagers, right? Like 14, 15. So let's see who looks like a teenager, because you have to be, I think, 17 or at least be done with high school to go to that school. And then they have another little school for kids, right? Like from 5 to 12 or 14, something like that. So they take people from there, of course, but you always have to audition. So sometimes you're lucky that they take you and they're like, okay, I want you to audition. You don't need to finish school even. You're just going to go out and work. But it's not guaranteed that once you graduate, you get work. So it's a really, really tough and hard industry. Once you graduate. Yeah, you have to just like audition like everywhere, right? So yeah, it's not guaranteed.
And what is the audition process like? I think for those of us who might know a little bit about how it's like in America, it'll be interesting to hear about what it's like in Mexico. So tell me more about that.
Of course, especially because there's a lot of Spanish-speaking people in the United States.
Yeah.
So there's a page from school from Televisa. It's called CEA, right? CEA, right?
Mm.
That's the Center Art of Education.
Hmm.
And so you send your picture in, you get a form, you fill it out, and then I think because this was a long time ago, I don't know if things have changed, but you send in your papers, and then they call you for an audition. There's tons of people, and I think this is in January. And so they call you for that, and then you go into an audition with 10 people over there, teachers, you know, the principals, everybody, and they ask you to improvise or do a scene, right? And they give you a paper before, and so you have quite like, I don't know, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or even less. And they'll make you do a couple of things, and then they'll give you a callback again after a while, and that's the process you get in. But really, only I think maybe 40 people every like year, first year, second year. It's like really, really reduced. And then sometimes you get paid to study there as well, because since you cannot work, they give you a little scholarship for that. So that's mostly the process that you have to do. I think it's like most of the auditions that you just go and like, you know, talk about yourself and present and whatever they ask you to.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
you
what
can
was
find it
your
in the internet.
journey like? Because
Oh
I
my God.
saw on your resume and stuff like you were on an episode of La Fea Más Bella. I remember that show growing up because I was studying Spanish at the time. I remember I'd watch it on, I think, in the DC it was called Telefutura. So I'd watch it
Uh-huh.
on Telefutura. So I remember that show. And then there's another show I saw that you were on. So tell me how you navigated the world.
Yeah, so it was interesting because I'm from Ecuador, so Mexico for me was like a big thing. So I was modeling in Ecuador, and then I got to meet someone that was working, a photographer working in this industry, and he was like, "Why don't you audition?" So just to make it short, I went there, I auditioned, but I was thinking of going back to my country and then start in January. This was in September. Huge, party in Mexico now coming up, the 16th. So the principal goes and says, this is once of a lifetime opportunity. So we wait for you on Monday to start class because they already started. I'm like, wait a minute. So the thing is that I decided to stay in Mexico. I was about to just like go back. I decided to stay there. Dad sent me my luggages, whatever, and I start classes. So I was very lucky because I had a lot of experience already. So after a lot of testing they did in a year, I was jumped to the last year,
Ah.
right? So they were like, you're ready to go work. So we're going to do a year and a half and just go for it. So once I graduated, I was very young. I was, I think, 20 or something like that. So the journey starts. It's a tough, tough industry. You don't have managers over there. I don't know if things have changed. I don't think so much.
Wow.
So you have to go out there and sell yourself, right? And go with your picture and like your curriculum and, hey, this is what I've done, right? To all the production inside this company. Because you want to start on TV, of course, because that's where you started. And so you have to do that audition. So my journey was long. I didn't get the job right away. So you get you're going to do 10 scenes in this telenovela. For example, Ugly Betty the Ugly. It was so well known. It started in Colombia, and then they made it in Mexico. And so I was a model, right? So I had like a couple of scenes. I was like the model, the mean girl. And so it started all off there. It was quite an experience because
Hmm.
you're with very talented and recognized actors. And after that, I did theater, and it was like a classic theater. And then I got to work again at the company. And so I went back and forth with that. I was doing a good career, but I also wanted to like do more, right? And then you need money to like
Yeah.
survive.
Yeah.
So I was working as a model as well. So it's very hard to like do both things because I'm tall. I'm 5'10". For Mexico, I'm a tall woman. And so I remember getting a character, and then they called me like, "Oh, I'm sorry, you're too tall, the guy that is working with you is shorter, so this will not be able to happen." And so you find so many things that I could talk about. But so it was quite a journey, I could say. I liked it, but it was hard. It was hard. And
Mm.
then circumstances of life. I got a baby in my 30s, and then you have kind of like choose: do you want your career, do you want your family life and whatever. So I went that way, but I
Hmm.
never left my career. I was always on top. So I went back to Ecuador, and there's where I started as a host in a
Yeah,
morning show. Totally
yeah,
different scenario.
yeah,
And
exactly.
so I
Bef
worked there. That was great.
Before we talk about the host, was Rebelde being filmed in Mexico around the time you were in Mexico?
Yes, yes, it was a boom, amazing. But see, that's funny because uh, we auditioned for that, but Rebelde was really like high school kids, so middle school kids
Oh,
around there. But the actors were really around. Some of them were 30 years old.
yeah, yeah.
Some of them were 20. Mostly none of them were like 15 or 16. So it's great because I know they're doing now a singing like all over the United States
Yeah,
also, and
yeah.
they're reunited. So it was around when I was in Mexico,
Wow.
and it was amazing until now. I
Yeah.
mean, but I think that was done in Argentina, and then from Mexico they took it and redid it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I like that telenovela as well. But see, the thing was for me, for example, I've always looked older, like in my
Um,
30s, I would say, right? And so I was 20, but I could be the teacher, but not
oh,
the high
I see.
schooler.
Yeah, it would be
So
harder to
there's
be the student. Oh,
exactly. And then mostly they wanted people who were really well known, so they would sell it well. And there's a couple who were very, very lucky that they just needed that type. It's like, oh, we need an Asian person. So you are perfect for that. Oh, we need a European. You know a little bit of another language. We'll take you. So you never know what they're looking for.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, let's talk about the hosting because as I was doing research, I actually found they have a channel. They still have clips of you. So I'm like, that must have been really fun. And it was a big deal in Ecuador, right?
Oh, Jerry, it was so fun.
Hmm.
Ecuador is really a small country, and
Yeah.
I lived in Quito. That's the capital, right? A lot of mountains. This is very high. So it's not like humid or you don't have the beach close. You have to travel for 4 hours.
Wow.
So this opportunity comes to me when I had a little boy. So I started with the news, actually, reading the teleprompter, right? Because that's something I also can do as an actor, but I'm not a journalist. But I just needed to read out the prompter and give out the news. 6 in the morning. So what did that mean? 4:30 in the morning. I had to wake up, go to makeup at 5. It's everything you don't see once you're there. So from 6 to 7, and that lasted like half a year. And then I was so lucky from somebody else that took me and said, "Hey, why don't you try an audition for this morning show? I think you're a mom right now, and you're in this 30s, so you're perfect for that." And I was very lucky because in Ecuador there's not much production, and mostly that's like TV, right? Hosting. And so I stayed there for 6 years. It was so much fun because the other co-host, they are like your brothers and sisters. You see them every day for like 3 or 4 hours. And what I love is that could be me. So I would always do mistakes or whatever. It's a live show. And so you would just like laugh about it and just be you. So
Yeah.
I love that. And for homestaying mom, for example, because of course it was from 9 to 11. So people who were working, that was hard. But every day it's a challenge. You interview, you dance, you do, I don't know, modeling shows. There's every time it's something different. So I love that part. And just a halftime job, which
Yeah.
is perfect when you're a
Yeah.
mom.
I see. That's pretty cool that you could do it part time. So they didn't require you to kind of like get there at 4 anymore or anything like that. Yeah.
That was amazing. I mean, I had to be there, I don't know, at 8 or something, and then get makeup done, your hair done, and then you're in live from 9 till 11. And then sometimes you had to go and shoot, some reportings or whatever, but that was fine. It was just a couple of times. But mostly it was the best job ever because you were done. Half
Yeah.
day. Bye.
Yeah. Wow.
See you tomorrow.
I was so after college for a year I worked the morning shift for Fox 29 in Philadelphia. So
Wow.
but I was full time so I got there at 6:30 and I left at around 12. So
At
um
night.
oh no I'm confusing too. I started in the evening shift. The morning
Oh,
shift I
okay.
got there at 6:30 and I left at like 2 or 3.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And
See,
then
that's the thing. with all these jobs, you don't have much, like, you never know when the shooting is over, when the news are coming something new, so you have to have the time, right? That's a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah, at least it wasn't so, 6:30 in the morning to like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Some of the producers on the morning show, they would actually get there at like 10 or 11 p.m. and work until 6. Like that was a pretty brutal shift, but they get used to it. I don't think their
Right.
body completely agreed that they got used to it, but in their minds they're like, yeah, we get used to it. But that's news. It's a little different than because even the morning show, they would like half do news, half do the entertainment, right? It
Yeah.
wasn't like a morning show like a Good Morning America. It was more like a
Mhm.
local morning show. So local morning show, every hour they have to insert the news.
Right. But that's interesting, because we used to do it as well. Because there's some
Hmm.
people who also like to see that, like, not only entertaining, but about the news. So yeah, I think that's the way they do it now, like the morning shows. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite cool.
Wow. It's just fascinating to see kind of the differences, the similarities between how they do it in Ecuador and then how they do it when I was in Philadelphia. This is actually literally 10 years ago. It's funny. 10 years ago. Wow.
I don't want to talk about the time. But yeah, yeah. Well, and things have changed so much. Look at
Yeah.
us. We're doing this Zoom interview now,
Yeah.
which we wouldn't have thought it
I
was
know.
possible.
10 years ago, like, how do we do interviews? I remember the year after I stopped doing journalism, 2014, it was the first time we thought about like interviewing through Skype, right? Because
Right.
normally, if someone wanted to interview, they would tune into a, they would tune in remotely through another Fox subsidiary station and interview. So, like, a lot of times, especially in the evening hours, we get this one really loud person. All of us, back when I was working the evening hours, all of us would be trying to plan the 10 o'clock broadcast. This guy at like 7 or 8 would be in the corner, tuned into Fox News Channel, just yelling, debating whatever segment they were doing. And every time we're like, oh, it's that guy again. So,
Yeah.
like funny stuff like that. But now he could just tune in through Zoom or Skype. He doesn't have to go into an actual local Fox station and freaking disrupt everyone else.
Exactly. That's crazy because I remember this guy as well, right? The Skype, I'm sorry. And it was about like, oh my God, it's interfering. I cannot hear you. You have to wait like 2 or 3 seconds,
Yeah, I
And
remember
now
that.
look at us. That's
Yeah.
just, yeah.
I
So
totally
10 years.
forgot that back in the day with this type of technology. By the way, just for everyone watching, this is called WebRTC. So everything you get online, I'm sort of half in tech. So this is my little rant. Everything you get online, it's all using WebRTC software, including Zoom. So that's how you know everything's a fork of different WebRTC iterations. But
Oh,
yeah, exactly like you said, Isabel. What's funny is that back in the day, if you talked over each other, then both of you couldn't hear each other. I don't even remember when they solved that. Like, we're not talking over each. I don't know how that happened.
I don't know. It just worked out all of a sudden. But it's also important, to listen
Yeah,
what the other person is saying.
yeah,
And then like, okay, it's your turn, my turn. So I think that's one thing we as entertainers also learn,
yeah,
right? Or theater, for example, when the crowd is laughing, you have to know when you keep up talking because otherwise you will talk on the laugh and they will not understand.
yeah,
So yeah, you have to learn to do that.
yeah. Exactly. Does your kid have the entertainment acting bug too?
So I have two kids, right?
Uh-huh.
One is 13 and the other one is 4. And the oldest actually was always willing to dance. And his dad is a singer. And so he had a group. He's Mexican, but then, he's not doing that anymore. So he has it in his blood. And when he was younger, he would be doing all this stuff. But now that he's 13, he's kind of like, Mom, stop, don't record me. And this teenagers, but I think they have it now. I convinced them for middle school to get the tech theater, just to get an idea, because
Yeah,
I think I really admire this from the American culture and from education. Is that no matter if you're good for languages or for art or for math or whatever, they always search something where you're good at. See, because in my German education, it was not that way. It was always academics, academics. And so I was like, no, I want to do art. I'm really good in art. And they never explored that for me.
yeah,
It was until I said, I'm gonna study that. But yeah,
yeah.
let's see what happens with those guys. The little one loves dancing, so
Oh, that's good.
maybe.
So,
It is a hard industry, Jerry.
yeah,
I will tell. I'm
yeah,
not so sure if I want them to do it, but my parents always, were giving me all this strength and they're supporting me. So I will support them. And I
Yeah.
think you should support them if they want to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is a perfect segue. So, what got you to go from Ecuador to America?
Okay, so when once I studied in Mexico, right? I go back to Ecuador. I do 6 years at a morning show, which is still on TV, and then I married, and my husband got a job
Oh,
here in a international organization, and that's
oh,
here in Washington. Well, I live in Virginia, but it is in DC, and
oh,
so it was kind of like, again, right? You need to choose. There's a family, there's this option, there's this opportunity to go out of America, and you have your TV show, but I'm not so sure if this is forever, right?
yeah,
Because we're also working with our, like the age, and it's just tough.
yeah,
And so I decided to come with him. We decided to come with him with our kids. And then I got pregnant again, whatever. So that's why we're here. I have
mm,
a working permit and everything, but it has been very hard for me to combine both things, because the shootings sometimes are like, you have to go to Baltimore or Richmond, it's like far away, and then you have to have callbacks, and then the shooting might go 10-12 hours. And then in the DMV area, I think in Philadelphia maybe more, but there's not much about like movies or much industry. I don't know. I'm not so sure. Or maybe it's because I don't speak very well English, so it has been very hard for me to look for jobs here. So I've been a 24 homestaying mom. I'm an interpreter now with my languages, but I still do things every time
yeah,
something goes in Spanish, because, oh, I can do it. I want to audition. So I try to combine that. But with kids, it's definitely hard, especially because you don't have help here. I
yeah,
don't have family. Nobody can help me. You cannot rely on anybody. And my husband works the whole day. So
yeah.
that's why I'm here in America. That's what brought me here.
Wow, yeah, that's and because the kids are such different ages too, so they got different needs. So like they really need mommy, but in different ways they need mommy.
Correct. You're
Yeah,
so right. Thank you for pointing that out, because I have a huge gap between both of them, right?
yeah,
9 years. So you think you are done with the oldest, but then it's middle school and it's this heart age, which, we have been there,
yeah,
and you have to be there. I
yeah,
mean, it's a fortune for me. I'm blessed to be at home as well and have a job that it's very flexible for me. And while the other one, who is 4 years old, goes to preschool 3 hours where I cannot do much and also has other needs,
yeah,
right? And then you think, okay, if I have to work, fortunately, I can do this flexible work. But if I have to work full time, all that money goes to a daycare person as well. So yeah, definitely the kids have different needs, and you have to choose, your battles. That's what I always
yeah,
say.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, it's a so I was in the DMV area like in 2015 for a little bit, and there was some production here, but I think, like you said, there's nothing too big here. So, like, if you want to find consistent work, it's hard. I think the people who do get consistent work, like, they're affiliated with like a local theater or something so musicals or like that type of stuff. Maybe they'll have more consistent work. But again, especially after 2020, I don't even know if 2020 changed everything, right? And in a way, it made this type of stuff more available. Like people are more willing to kind of do these types of interviews. But it definitely, I think, some of the physical in-person things sort of died off with the unfortunate lockdowns and stuff like that, and never
Oh yeah,
recovered.
it was a really hard time. I mean, I could not imagine. I was talking to my friends, working over there in Mexico, which I still have, and
Yeah.
and that's I mean, it's a daily basis what they earned, right? And all of a sudden, all productions were dead. I like in the whole world, everybody was the same, right? No theater, no everything, and so it was very hard. I really admire, for example, your job, what you're doing, because you created new things
Yeah.
with this media,
Yeah.
which not all of us are capable of doing
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
because you have to know about it. Everybody talks about, oh, this is so easy to do. Well, it is not. You
Yeah.
have,
Exactly.
to know how to do it. And so I really, uh, congratulations for
Yeah.
that,
Thank you.
because,
Thank you.
you needed to see, okay, how do I do this?
Yeah. And
And
I always tell people the word they call us is influencer, which is the worst word ever because we don't have too much influence. Like the platform can take us down And that's the thing. That's why, because I started my big martial arts channel in a different era of YouTube where you could say the F word like 20 times, or, you could be mean. My videos still get taken down because, some of those I forgot about. They were in 2017, 2006. I forgot I had those videos up. And then so I'll get like a strike, or I'll get like a community guidelines warning. I'm like, darn. So like recently, I've been just, even some of those videos that got millions of views, I've been taking them down. And if needed, if I really like them, I'll re-edit them, put it on a different channel. Just so, because if I put it on my big channel, people might be like, I remember this. Why'd you put it up again and delete it? So I'll put it on a different channel, let new people find it. But yeah, my point in saying all this is that it is cool and it gives you options, but it sure is not the fun thing that maybe when you and I were in middle school and high school, what we thought it would be, right? It became a job like any other industry. Like, I think what I call YouTube 1.0 and YouTube 2.0, those people really had a lot of fun. But once it got to YouTube 3.0, I call 3.0 is after like 2012. Like once it got to 3.0 and then 4.0, I would call it like maybe like after 2016. I would call myself YouTube 4.0. But I started putting up videos in the YouTube 3.0 era. I just didn't know what I was doing. But now we're like 5.0, post 2020. That it's just a completely different animal. My point in saying this is I got neighbors who, they have kids who are maybe your little kid's age or slightly older. And I would just tell them, like, the number one thing every kid aspires to, according to surveys, is to be a YouTuber or an influencer. But the truth is, unless you fell into it and you can do it, don't do it. Don't aspire to do it. So that being said, though, Isabel, I do want to encourage you. I think, like, obviously, like, you and I have good vibes talking. So I think you have a very good, even if you were just to talk to camera, you have something really good there. So there's probably a lot of ideas you could do. Maybe even like a whole series reflecting on your life doing telenovelas, and then maybe like do a series, talk about as an TV host in Ecuador. You could talk about it in English, or you could do it like do two channels. Do a channel where you talk about it in Spanish. So,
yeah, oh my God, I love what you said.
Yeah,
because all you've said, I'm learning a lot of it out of it, because I think I'm slightly older than you, but technology changes so much, and so sometimes you get just so scared of something you don't know.
Yeah.
And so like YouTube 4 or 5 or whatever, everything that goes into, and there's a lot of people, and I appreciate what you just said. They have told me, man, just get the camera, just get out there, use cell phone. You can do it with a cell phone and like talk about your life, right? Because I have Instagram, for example, and I've seen that a lot of influencers can do it now. And I think once you focus on something important, what you want to talk about, but as you said, it's easy said, not easy done, right? Because you have to go out there and post and do and whatever you do, right? Okay, what am I going to talk about now in my program or whatever? So I would love to do it, but it's funny because sometimes I don't find the time, or sometimes I'm just the person who likes to have everything done, right? Like the producer, you tell me what I need to do, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And so it's so hard to be an entrepreneur and to start doing something. Oh, I'm going to have my channel. What am I going to talk about? I have to see who I'm going to talk to. I have to see what I'm going to talk to. I have to prepare. So sometimes it's this like, oh, I'm scared because I have to do it. It's really work.
Yeah.
It's not just like appearing there, right?
Yeah.
And like, hey.
It's you're a full-fledged, you're not just doing one of the process, right? You're doing a full-fledged thing.
Exactly.
And let me show you,
this is,
I haven't figured it out yet, but this is one of the things I do. So this is something I learned working in tech, but this is how I plan my day. So, like, this is how you don't go crazy. You have all this to-do list. Yeah, this is pretty cool. I never thought I show you some of the stuff I learned in tech that I carried over to my creativity. For those of you watching, if you find this channel through my big channel or whatever, now you know how I plan. This is how, I got hundreds of thousands of viewers and they always ask me to do stuff. I tell them, it's not that I'm ignoring you. This is just one to-do list. So, so I'm showing you this because, like you said, unfortunately, you got to do the entire process, right? Like, if I really wanted to break this down, doing means filming plus editing plus doing all that. I just put it all there because I've done this for so long that I can just film and then edit and upload. Like, that's not too hard for me. But for you, like, potentially you would have to break it down into different steps. And then whenever you finish something, you would just put it over. So think of this as like a very, very complicated, but much more detailed and focused way of doing a to-do list.
Right. I would love, now that I'm seeing this, you're
Yeah.
so organized. I love it because that's a thing, right? It's like, I know what I have to do. I'm an actress. I'm fine in front of the cameras, but I haven't learned much of editing, for
Yeah.
example, or everything you can do because you're a whole package
Yeah.
and you just showed it to us, right? And
Yeah.
so sometimes I'm pretty sure that people are going to ask you, hey, can you do, a special edition? Like, show us how you do it. And
Yeah.
it's so interesting. So that's why sometimes I'm kind of like scared, I have to say it, to start doing it. Maybe I should just say, I'll do it. Let's see what comes out.
Yeah, yeah, I
would love
totally understand, and I 100% have sympathy for your feelings because what you feel towards sort of like where technology's evolved with entertainment, I in general feel towards technology. Like one of the
Right.
reasons I keep doing segues into technology was last year I sort of half got back into tech. So when I was in high school, I'm sure you will remember too when you were in high school. But for people that really wanted to do something related to computers or programming, it was hard because there was no support anywhere. Like if you were stuck, what would you do? Google wasn't even really around
No,
back then. So
no,
I
you have
took
to
two
figure
years
it
of
out.
programming and I was frustrated and I stopped. I stopped. And last year I got the bug again. I just said, you know what? I sort of had an interest in high school. Let's do it again. So I'm telling you this story because it was still a challenge and I still sometimes do it and sometimes don't. But once you tell yourself to do it, kind of like what you said, it'll be much, once you say you're going to do it, you're going to do it. Like yesterday, I started learning again. I spent 2 weeks ago learning, and then I got about 40% through a new language, a computer language I was learning, and I said I don't want to do it anymore. And then that's practicing self-compassion, right? Don't force
Yeah.
yourself. But then last night I wanted to do it again, so now I'm 50% through the language. you know
That's
yeah,
amazing.
so that's encouragement for you too. Don't expect to become a YouTube expert. Look how long it took me, and I'm not a YouTube expert still. I still don't know anything. I just happened to build a big audience through a mixture of luck and determination and maybe a little bit of skill, right? But
Yeah.
like that's what I'm saying. So like, and not only that, not only like just keep at it. The other thing is your kids, especially your 13-year-old, probably can help you a lot. So I don't know if he wants to, or it's a he.
It's a he. They're both
I
boys.
don't know if
Yeah.
he wants to, but like you could ask him. He probably knows more than I do, and I'm pro at it. So I'm telling you, he probably because not only does he know YouTube, he probably knows some of the other platforms
Oh,
even
yeah.
better. And I wouldn't suggest you get on TikTok. I used to actually work for that company, so I would
Mhm.
just say from an inside scoop, I don't trust that company.
Yeah, I haven't done it yet, really. I
Hmm.
mean, my son is into it, but see, again, it's like you have to learn because your kids are going to like be better than you,
Yeah,
and you need to learn out of
yeah,
it. So sometimes I have to ask him to give me the lines when I'm audition or something. Everything is through the video now. It's not like
yeah,
you go in person. So he helps me out with that. He's probably better than me. So I really appreciate you encouraging me because I might just do it. I need to like find those 2, 3 hours to just do it. The thing sometimes is also like you do it. I know you will tell me, but sometimes where do you live from? I mean, if you don't get money for that either, so how long does it has to take for a podcast, for example? I know
yeah,
you have to start for
yeah,
something, right? But then
yeah,
that's always like scarying. It's like, okay, I'm working, but how long
yeah.
until I get a budget?
Yeah, yeah. And this is the issue with what I call YouTube 5.0. Like
Mhm.
even before, it was much easier to just make money, right? When I started I have a lot of YouTube channels. This channel that this talk is going on is a YouTube 5.0 channel because I needed to know what it's like, right? But when I had my martial arts channel, it was monetized immediately because that's how
Wow.
YouTube used to be. Now you can't do that
Right.
anymore. Thank
You
goodness
can?
my channel took off immediately. My martial arts channel took off immediately, right? So by the time they rolled new changes, this was a channel that will not be affected, right? But like now there's a lot more benchmarks. Now it's like,
Right.
oh, you got to have at least 500 hours, I believe, of watch time. Or sorry, I said it wrong. You have to have at least 2,000 or 4,000, depending on the type of channel. And then you have to have 500 subscribers at least. Sometimes the benchmark is at least 1,000. So
Right.
they've made it much harder. But recently, they've also changed the algorithm. So I always tell people if you can put out 20 videos
Mm-hmm.
you'll probably start getting recommended to people as long as you don't do something
Oh,
that offends YouTube. So like put
right.
out 20, regular videos that don't do anything controversial, and you should be recommended to people. So I tell people, because I have a neighbor in LA, he's a very talented wrestler, and him and his girlfriend, I think, are both unemployed. It's pretty bad in LA right now. So I told him, you love ranting to me about wrestling and you love challenging people to wrestling all the time. Why don't you just make a YouTube channel? And he asked me the same question. He's like, well, how long does it take until I make money? I'm like, don't think about money for now. I know it's important, but try to force yourself to make 20 videos and then see where the channel is. Like, is one of those
Right.
videos getting thousands of views? Is it getting me one subscriber per day? If you're doing that, then I think that's a sign. Maybe I should keep going, maybe up certain commitments, up certain production values. And I say this because I experimented not just with this channel. I have another channel that I call a
Mm-hmm.
Post 5.0 YouTube channel, where it's the channel I was telling you about that I took some of my old videos that might have been quote unquote offensive and I re-edited and I put them up again. And this channel confirm what I thought. So I have about 40 videos on the channel now. By the 10th video, already there was one video that got like 20,000 views, I think. So it
Wow.
still isn't monetized because, as we know, the benchmark is so much higher. But I also haven't used my big channel to promote my new channel. I know if I really got on that, I would probably get it
It
monetized quickly. But
goes.
me, I wanted to see what it's like for someone who didn't have any help, right? So like I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do it in a way where I didn't help myself, so to speak. And in a way, I think it's better. I don't want some of my old audience to go to my new channel. I want new audience. That's how you hedge your bets as an entertainer, right? Your old audience, unfortunately, things happen with their lives. They have kids, they
Yeah.
have grandkids. They won't
It
tune into
changed.
you all their lives. So you want to build new audience. Anyways, these are just some things I think about since you shared so much about you. So I hope this is helpful.
No, of course, it's so much helpful because, as you say, you have to start at some point, and it's so helpful because it just started, and then
Yeah.
we'll see, and then maybe I don't know, you can advertise because I don't really know how it works. You're telling me now, you
Yeah.
have to have so many subscribers and whatever. So I think everything helps
Yeah.
to get started. It's
Yeah.
just a matter of okay, when do you start?
Yeah. And when you told me that both your kids have some talent, and at least the 13-year-old used to have a lot of interest, probably still does, he's just hiding it.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
probably will be fun to bring them in to some of your productions and stuff like that. This is something you would have to
that's
talk to them and talk to your
yeah,
husband too, make sure he's okay with it. But I think it'll be really cute to kind of, because you have German ancestry, you have Ecuadorian ancestry, your husband's Mexican. And so like it's a really multicultural household and you're living in America. There's a lot to talk about. Of course, with where the world is, you just have to be positive about it. Don't talk about negative stuff,
That's
unfortunately. But
totally true. I had a radio show as well, and I would always just talk about positive things because I
yeah,
love it. I love to be
yeah,
positive, and everything is possible. Now, you mentioned something very important is about like if you want to get involved your family in this, and if they are willing to, because nowadays it's like no, don't expose your kids, whatever. But on the other hand, that's my life, right? I'm a homestaying mom that has uh, jobs that I can take once in a while, but that's my life. So I have to kind of like get them involved with
yeah,
what I want to do. So
yeah,
it's not a bad idea.
yeah.
So what does an Ecuadorian German do in the United States with two kids?
Yeah, exactly. And like just because a lot of the stuff I do on my martial arts channel, I'm analyzing footage anyways. And there's footage of you that you can analyze. So it's like it's my face already. Let me analyze, like what are the news companies going to do? You can't analyze your own footage. I mean, talk to them maybe anyways, but like, in US there's a law. I can't give legal advice. So this is just my own observation, but like in the US they protect things like analysis and
Yes.
commentary and news and parody. So like if you just taking like 20 seconds or a minute or 2 minutes of a clip of you and analyzing it, talking for 5 minutes, that's totally fine. In my opinion, again, I'm not a legal
No,
expert.
thanks. No,
Yeah,
no, definitely. I think, yeah, yeah. I have to do it at some point. I need
yeah,
to do it. When I'll do it, I'll send it to you first person.
yeah, definitely, definitely. So,
That's so
any
cool.
projects coming up? I mean, I guess I gave you something to do, but any other projects coming up?
Definitely. So it has been funny because I've been working with some producers that do things in internet as well, but it's like more fantasy. And so they always call me to do something, for example, like I don't know, I'm a mermaid and then I get into a creature. And so that has been a good project, which came out, and I liked it, what came out for me as an actress, of course. And then I'm always trying to get into Hispanic radio in Spanish,
Mm.
but it's really closed, right? It's like almost the same people. You need to know someone so they can get your resume. I'm sorry. So it has been hard, but I'm always having projects here in Virginia. I'm in the Fairfax County. We have a Fairfax Public Access, which you
Mm.
can be a member. And so they have a lot of great equipment. And I did a scene for a movie now on Saturday. It's always like, hey, let's help us out, right? The producer wants to do this, the director and the actor. So I did a scene there. So that's coming out. And there's always projects coming. So I'm just like waiting. Okay, when is the time? Do I have time to do this? And I want to do more things. So I'm always searching commercials, whatever, just to not, just to be there, like acting all the time, because that's my passion. That's what I love. And I don't want to not do it anymore. I just, have to combine. So yeah, those kind of projects are there. And I'm very happy to also be helping out families, especially Hispanic families, with the interpretation translation
Mm.
at the public schools. So that's a great job too. And from there, sometimes you can also take great stories.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
combines
exactly.
all together.
Is there any kind of dream role or anything that, like, if you were given this and you so audition for that?
It's funny because now that you talk about the martial arts, which I will like get into that more, I would always like to be like this kind of I don't know if it's not a policewoman, but it's like this martial art or like police. I love sports. I want to like do a character of that. Sometimes I want to be like the bad one, not always
Hmm.
the good one. So that would be like my dream, right? Like let's do something with fighting or just being this woman who really can do things that a lot of males do,
Hmm.
you know? So I would like to do that. I
I
haven't been
see.
able to do it yet. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I,
that's
I like the kickboxing. So if you have something for me, just like I've taken some classes, I don't know if it has something to do with your martial arts.
hmm hmm.
But yeah, I'm
Tell me
very, very
about tell
into
me
that.
about the kickboxing classes you took. How did you
Yeah,
find them? Yeah, tell me about them.
I like it because it's like with music and it has like a little bit more of rhythm. And since I love to dance,
Hmm.
so I took karate when I was younger. But I don't know, I was like maybe yellow belt or whatever. So it wasn't that far. But then the kickboxing was a combination of the kicking, which I love because I have really long
Yeah,
legs.
exactly.
But I like the punching, right? Like
Yeah.
in the air. So that combination I loved. It just makes me hyper, it just makes me get all out of me. So
Yeah.
I'm not the kind of like yoga person because I mean it's tough. The yoga, it's tough. You really have to like be focused and be good at it. No, I need this like getting the energy out. So that's why I love the kickboxing classes.
Wow. It reminds me. Have you ever watched Capulina?
It's I've never watched it, but I've heard about the Capulina. That's like really
Yeah,
old.
it's really old, like Mexican.
Yeah.
So there was a phase in the 2020, 2021, 2022 era when everything was a little locked down. When I don't
Uh-huh.
remember how I discovered Capulina. I think one of my good friends in LA is Mexican. So he was
Uh-huh.
the one that told me about Rebelde. So I watched a few episodes. I was like, okay, that's too much for girls. I can't
That's
do
so
it.
cute.
And then he told me about Capulina, and so I was watching Capulina. The reason I mentioned this because there was one movie talking about like when they need cast that's not Mexican, they brought like either a Chinese person or a Japanese person to be a karate master, and I was like, that was the first time I ever saw in like an old Mexican movie there was an Asian. I was like,
An
that is
Asian.
pretty cool. It's kind of like what you said. Like sometimes if there is a role that like is really needed for someone, that like if you're
Yeah.
that person, you're in luck, right? I mean, it was a pretty bad movie. Like the Asian guy, even though he was a karate master, he kept getting beat up repeatedly in the movie. I was like, come
I
on, you
have to
brought an
watch
Asian guy
it.
just to beat him up.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, yeah. So that's why I remembered that. But I think from first of all, your vibe's awesome. I think from
Thank you.
talking to you, like it's awesome, and I think
Thank you. You
you
too.
know.
Likewise.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I like to think I'm a good interviewer. I like to,
You
it's
are.
like
You
I
are.
make it like a conversation, right? So
Exactly. And so it goes,
yeah.
right? And then you listen and then you ask and I like it and you keep it, you know, on the track. So I like that. It's not like you jump from one side to another. So
Yeah,
you're
exactly,
great.
exactly. Yeah, so yeah, for everyone watching, so Isabel, you do not have a YouTube channel right now, right?
I do not have
Okay.
a YouTube channel. No,
Hmm.
no, no, no. I have to figure that out. I have,
Hmm.
some videos from my kids like put up and then I dance with them and whatever, but I don't have a YouTube channel.
Hmm.
I have a website, www.isabel slash, but in the middle, molina.com.
Hmm.
But I haven't updated it, right? But you can go in there and you can watch some things. And then if you look in YouTube and put my name, there's a couple of things that still like pop up.
Yeah,
I have my demo reel. I have that things and Instagram, of course, but that's another thing. I haven't kept up with it,
yeah,
right? So I don't post much. So if you don't post, nobody's interested.
yeah,
So I need to like get that too. Like, okay, this is what it is nowadays. TikTok, I've not been yet able to do anything. But yeah, I just have to like, do it again and say, okay, let's go
yeah,
out there.
exactly. So it seems like Isabel, if we do another interview, it should be a follow-up. Once you get yourself to start some of this, then we could do another talk, your experiences, kind of, putting some stuff up, seeing how the new age of people kind of they put their entertainment up. So I think that's
Yeah,
a perfect
I
follow-up conversation.
I would love that. We could be talking on and on and on, and all this experience, which is like, from other countries and other times as well. And now what you're experiencing here, and then the combination, as I always say, once you get to another stage of life, too, it is just interesting. And getting older as well as an actress, it's like, okay, what characters can I do now, right? Because I will not be forever young. And so I want to do the mom now, and then I want to be that actress that can be the grandma and yeah, it's so much we could talk about. So I'm
Yeah,
happy to do it at some other point and see, okay, what has happened
yeah,
between now and then.
yeah, exactly. And as
Look
a
at us. Look, I
follow-up,
have
I'll
the
send you. Oh, you have one too, like that. Look at that. Huh?
yay.
That's so funny. Yeah, you use the same type of yeah. People who aren't used to good sound, my audience, especially like, what are you? Is this a dead rabbit, dead raccoon? They never understand this.
It looks like this.
Yeah,
That's true. I use it for voiceover, which I'm trying to do too, but
yeah,
it's also a very, very tough niche to get in there.
yeah.
Yeah, but I like to.
What I can do is let me try to find their email. So Me Too.
No.
Okay, Me Too is the biggest influencer network for Latin American YouTubers and influencers. So when
Wow.
I was
See.
at ByteDance, the company that owned TikTok, we met up with Me Too because we were trying to potentially get some of their content
Uh-huh.
um, to our platform. But I still
Just
have
to know, is it M-E and then T-O-O? Is it
MITU with tilde,
okay?
yeah,
Tilde,
tilde above the
yeah.
U. So
Wow.
I could potentially give I'll give some of their emails to you. You could try to email them. Might as well because it's
Yeah,
not
of
like
course.
I work with them, but I have their contact. There you
That's
go.
amazing.
You see if you can make something work with them.
I appreciate it, Jerry, a lot
Absolutely.
because that's what I like from people, and that's why your vibe is so cool because it's like you share. It's not like this is for me, for me, for me, and then if it works out for you, great, and if it does not, nothing happens because I always say the no is already there, so try it. So if I can
Yeah.
get those addresses, I'll just like try to reach
Yeah,
out.
just talk to them. Just talk to them. You never know. The other
Yeah.
thing for my martial arts channel, I do feature a lot of Latin American content. So
Uh-huh.
potentially a way to feature you in the future is if I have any questions, like, if the Spanish is too advanced for me or there's some research that's needed, like we can get a segment where you talk about what you found or something like that's a quick way. I'll be like, okay, well, I got someone here, Isabel, who can help me with understanding what I don't understand, and like
Of
we put like a
course.
30-second 1 minute insert of you kind of explaining what you found. So that's a way in the future I could get you on the main channel.
That's great. Let me
You
know
know?
because that's what I do now for a daily basis. I interpret and translate, and I'm happy to help anytime. Of
Yeah,
course.
exactly. So I think we definitely
Good.
have something because I got a big user base. Yeah, user base. Sure, we can say I got a
Mhm.
big viewership in Argentina. Like
Aha.
people in Argentina love martial arts, and like I never expected it, but one time I was going live on Instagram, and I didn't start caring about Instagram until years after my YouTube blew up, and then I realized Instagram is pretty cool. It's much more personal,
It's
and
fast.
like
Yeah.
all these people from Argentina tuned into my random. I never even announced. I just did it
Oh,
one time just for fun, and all these Argentinian viewers tuned in. I was like, whoa, I got
Ah,
Argentine, and then they started sending me their footage, and so like I've got an Argentinian following. I have a group
that's amazing. I
on
love
Instagram
Argentina.
too.
I
Yeah,
love
so like
Argentina too.
I'm saying this because I love featuring martial arts from Latin America.
Mm-hmm.
Paraguay, I believe, has like the Takanakui. Yeah, I don't know if you heard
Uh-huh.
about where like
No,
I think it's Paraguay where or Peru. It's Peru where
Peru.
during the winter time, everyone in the village gets together and just fights just to get
No,
things out of the way. I don't know if you heard about that, the kind of koi
no,
or
I
something
have
like
to.
that. Yeah,
You know, Peru and Ecuador is really close, so
yeah,
probably we
yeah,
have something like that, but I haven't heard about that.
yeah,
Yeah, this
yeah,
may be like an ancient, I don't know, like practice they used to do, whatever. It's interesting. I will look it up.
yeah.
I'll search
I'll
it.
send this to you. Let me remind myself. I'm gonna write a note.
Yeah, see, you're
Um,
organized.
yeah, exactly. But anyways,
Everything you have
guys,
sent it.
this was Isabel. She'll definitely be back, whether on this channel or on my main fight commentary channel. So I'll end it here, and I can talk to you a little bit after I stop recording.
Thank
But
you.
yeah,
Sure.
yeah, I'll talk to you guys. Thank you
Bye.
so much, Isabel. Isabel will be back.
Yeah.